Well, a very pleasant good afternoon to all of you. Thank you so much for coming to downtown Artie. Isn't this a great place? This is a great place. Let's do a little housekeeping. If you're interested in one of the books that are for sale, you can get them autographed, and so you can see the tent right over here. Those of you coming to the microphone, you've got to get right close to it, because this is all being sent out live on the New River Network, and you can watch it in the future on Facebook or YouTube or whatever those things are nowadays on the New River Network. So keep that in mind. My name is Bill O'Brien. It's been my pleasure to be here for all of these years, and we thought we were done last year in Charleston with about 1,400 people at the Civic Center Coliseum. But no, Tex decided, let's do it again, and by golly, glad that we did. We're going to start off with a presentation from a gentleman from Mingo County. Please welcome Mr. James Tiller.
Thank you all so much. If y'all would stand for the national anthem. Actually, is that a good idea? It might block the camera. Okay. All right. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Woo!
Play ball. Great job. Thank you, James. Thank you very much. Well, you know all about Tex Williams. This is his territory. His mom served as postmaster in that building for well over 40 years, never missed a day. His home place is that house right up there on the hill. As you know, he was the first all-state athlete at nearby Clear Fork High School. Go Panthers! Go Panthers! After his high school career, he went to Beckley College, played basketball, went to Marshall University, where he made Hall of Fame in basketball and baseball, and then, of course, became a renowned coach twice at St. Albans High School, where they've named the gymnasium after him. He went to University of Charleston as head coach, had an undefeated season there. But after his coaching career, his goal has been to honor people like you here today. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce the only man who was Coach of the Year in West Virginia in high school and in college. Here's the Godfather. Here's Coach Tex Williams. Do you want it in the stand or do you want to hold it? Okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Bill. Before we get started here, with a few remarks. I'd like to express to you actually the start of my philosophy about anything is if you're trying to get something done, you be the model, you be the example. Don't be a hot air talker, do it. All the players I ever coached, we prepared, and then we let them do it. But the people that'll do it and don't talk about it will accomplish much more, as all of you realize. So anyhow, I sort of get fired up when I see how our country is in troubled waters. So you think you're sitting there today and you're thinking we're here to praise Bobby Huggins, Jerry Lucas, the two main people we were paying tribute to, and some other coaches who will certainly be honored. Let me tell you the attitude of those two guys. This is, they mention your statistics and how you had a career. My greatest part of my career began when I started reaching out to other people through the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And I got that message by realizing how thankful I should be for knowing you. You are the people that we must count on to save our children. I used to give a lot of talks to young groups, and I looked back in the audience one night, and I saw a guy that was an adversary. Everything that people would say, he would find a reason to disagree. So I was beginning my talk, and I said, how in the world, I can't let an idiot dictate to me how I'm going to control this situation tonight. So I said, what can I do, dear Lord? And dear Lord gave me words in my mouth that I have used for years. Folks, anything I say, you have a right to agree or disagree. Well, you know how people, you go to clinics, coach, and you go to seminars, and you'll find some of these people that so negative that they always have something negative to say, regardless of who the speaker is. It could be Reverend Graham. They're going to find something negative. That's how you win, is taking the negatives and jump on it with positives. And at this point, I'd like to make a little statement to you. About 8 weeks ago, my house up there was in shambles. I was thinking about maybe torching it. And this lady looked at me and she said, no, Tex, we're going to fix that house up. And we're going to make you happy. And my lovely woman, Kay Williams, please stand up wherever you are. Right here. So now I want to help you colleagues out, especially the males, by saying, I did that because, I want a smooth sailing at the home front, and I don't want static. Now, you can't function 100% with getting negativity. You can't function. So a guy told me, I think it was Alan McVeigh. And he said, Tex, he said, your success doesn't depend on what you really do, but how you handle failure. You got to learn, and all of us will fail, and kids will fail, but you got to learn how to turn it into positives. So reacting from failure can be good. In my case, it was good. She will never know how much she inspired me and put spirit in my body. Because when you get a little age on you, that at least little thing will give you a little spirit. So she certainly did. So, honey, I thank you. Now, I'm going, when I get talking with a passion, I can talk a long time, so I'm going to try to shut up by saying that other people are actually responsible for your success. So these other people, your Holy Spirit, to me, is you right out here today. If we're going to war, I'm looking all of you guys up. Oh, we're going to fight. We're going to fight. And thing of it is we're in troubled waters. More importantly, and I've said this over and over, I don't mean to preach to you, but I just giving you my thoughts, because it's the reason for all this. Is I hope it's a carryover to our children, because our superintendents and our teachers are beginning to realize tradition is important. You take tradition away, and you're taking the lifeblood away from society. You won't believe in 13. I was telling Bobby, he said, how long you been? I said, 13 years, Bobby. And we grinned at each other. I've followed him all my life, Bobby Huggins, everywhere he's ever been, because I believe in how he coaches. I believe in what he stands for. Now, I'm going to tell you what he stands for. And this concludes Jerry Lucas. When I approached both of those guys, and I said, we want to pay tribute to you, both of them. No, I don't need any tribute. I want to give back to the people who believed in me. Buddy, that made me, that's the reason why this is the greatest blessing, athletic blessing I've had, to have those two guys sitting there together. Because, man, they not only talked it, they did it. And we appreciate you guys so much. You know what? You're better off when you don't have an agenda. I speak better when I don't have an agenda. But anyway, the agenda says this. There's a lot of people that helped make this successful. And I could go on, and we could talk a half an hour praising these people. But I want these people to stand up that contributed to this program. Yeah, here it is. This is called my recognition list, because you must always recognize people who's trying to do the right thing. Too much attention is paid with the people trying to get attention. So we need the doers. I got a guy right here local, to a couple of them. I talked to him, I need something. I told one, I said, I'd like to have a spiritual garden out here. Here's what I want to do. He comes in here and he buries all this old debris in here. Adam Tony there comes and he said, Coach, you need some gravel in there. Adam Tony put the gravel in. We had Eugene Williams here, who brought his heavy equipment. He sank the poles 3.5 feet deep, put concrete down and concrete on top. He said, Tex, they're not going anywhere. He said, them poles, people can come, them poles will be here. So I don't know whether you people know the history of these poles or not. A guy named Coffin Daffer from Craigsville, West Virginia. He went across America putting up 3 crosses. He got the spirit, the religious spirit. He went bankrupt. He spent $3 million that he had at that time, and he died of a heart attack. But anyhow, it's something I was thinking, we can carry on that tradition. And I think down in Tennessee, they have an office set up. They're continuing the tradition. I'd like to just call these people's names that helped me in 8 months or so leading up to this. I said Eugene Williams, Mark Toney, Chuck Lau, Jackie Scarborough, Greg Tidd, and of course all the Artie churches. And we thank James Tiller, the singing attorney, who will be singing a couple more songs from Nashville, Tennessee. So thank you guys so much for that. And guys, we know that you can't have a lot of fun without food. So we thank Kathy and Glenn for the catering service of bringing the food. Thank you, Kathy and Glenn. At this time, folks, you know our main people that really generates my ability to bring you in is when you mention the magic name of two guys like this. We've had people here before, Jerry West, Rod Thorne. The big three has now been added, Bobby Huggins. If you check around across this state, I've seen him so many situations. He does more behind the scene than people do out in front. With people who need this, need that, he's gone to their homes and lifted them. Bobby has always lifted people, and he's always been approachable. And I'll tell you something else about Bobby Huggins. I'm at the Final Four for years I went to it. That man never failed when he saw old West Virginia boy there. He'd come up, talk with me as long as he wanted to talk. I don't care if it's Johnny Wooden or who's standing there. That's how I judge people. I judge people by knowing that you're no better than I, and I'm no better than you. We're all God's children. So at this time, I'd like to recognize, because we're going to do a special poster on Jerry Lucas's group from Ohio. There's never been the bio will be later. You'll know about it. But I'd advise all of you on the rope over here to look at those two greats' bios. You won't find it any better in the world than those bios. But anyhow, the group that came up with Jerry Lucas, Coach Jim Osborne, would you stand up? Coach Jim Osborne. And a doctor friend from Gallipolis, Ohio, is Dr. Bill Thomas. He just retired. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. What I have told them, I know it's a little warm out there, but anyway, what I've told them, we're going to make a historical, and I hope we get a lot of pictures of this event. So I know you know how I feel. You probably feel the same way. We're blessed. But I'm going to make one of them big 15-foot posters, and we're going to always honor it with anybody that visits in our spiritual garden in the territory. But honoring Bobby Huggins' group from the state of Ohio. I'm not Bobby Huggins, but Jerry Lucas. The reason I incorporated Bobby's name in there, last trivia on those two guys, I looked up the history of Ohio State, the state of Ohio, scoring for basketball as high schoolers. Those two guys, up there, they scored just pick a number, 5,000 so points or whatever. But they were right under each other. All these great players that they've had, these guys were nip and tuck with who had the most points. And I don't know who had each other, but somebody had one by one. Oh, Jerry had it. So anyhow, I wanted to introduce. Now, I knew I'd ramble a little bit, but I'm about finished. But I wish you would. I apologize, but I speak from the heart, and sometimes I get carried away. If you want to talk to me or ever visit, come down. We'll visit for as long as you want to talk in there about your relatives or anybody. Yeah, I really get a thrill out of that. This time, I'd like to bring up a colleague and a real special person. He has a special presentation to one of the celebrities here today. I'd like to bring up Randy Hunt for your presentation.
Thanks, Tex. How about a big round of applause for Tex Williams, the man? So a few months back, I was talking to Tex, and I was telling him a story. And I played high school baseball for Coach Joe Goddard, who's one of the inductees today. And when I was 11 years old, my grandfather was a big Cincinnati Reds fan. And I remember sitting in his living room, and my grandfather jumped up out of his recliner chair, and he says, "There's Joe Goddard, there's Joe Goddard." He was playing for the Padres, and he was on television, which was a big deal. And he said, "That's a Sophia boy right there." And 5 years later, 6 years later, Joe comes back. He is my first high school coach at Independence High School. So I played for Joe for 2 years in high school. And when I went off to college, I played baseball at Tech, but they wouldn't let me hold a bat. I was a pitcher, so I left my bat bag at home. And honestly, it's sat in my mom's garage for 10 years. I got married, bought a new house, took my bat bag, set it in the garage again. And a couple years ago, my wife and I were cleaning out the garage, and I pulled my bat bag out, and I'm like, my gosh, I haven't opened this thing since the 80s. And I started pulling stuff out of there, and Joe, I'd like you to come up here, because how this bat got in my bag, I do not know. But this is an original Joe Goddard baseball bat. Coach, this belongs to you. I don't know how it got in my bat bag. It's a Joe Goddard autograph ball. I looked this bat up. This is the same bat that Mickey Mantle used.
K55.
What's that?
K55.
K50. It's a K55. Mantle used this bat, but I told Tex, I said, I got to get this bat back in Joe's hand, but I'd like to do it where at least people can recognize him. And that belongs to you, buddy.
Thank you very much. Steve Crozier told me I wasn't going to have to talk. I was just going to have to stand up. So I'm not going to say a whole lot. But Randy was on my first team that I coached and so forth. And someone asked me earlier today, they said, "Why are you still doing this?" And this is right here. That's why. So, thank you.
Thank you. Here you go, Tex.
The next presentation, very special to a lot of people. I sat down with this guy in his office when he just retired, and I got all kinds of photos. I did programs on him and everything. But what respect this man gained. Old baseball coach, he played professional baseball and everything. Who knows him as well as anyone will be the colleague of mine, Steve Crozier. Come up.
Well, first of all, I've been involved in this program for about 6 years. I've known Coach Williams for about 40 years through coaching when I was in South Charleston, and then we kind of got reconnected here in 2018. And like he was talking about, he had brought Rod Thorne in. He had Jerry West in 14. Now Coach Huggins is here now. It was his big three. We started talking about putting this together about 6 months ago. But the only thing I want to tell you about the program is this. In 2019, we had talked about putting one on. We had one in the Armory. So we got a lot of baseball people. I helped him kind of, connect with some baseball people and everything. And my mom and dad had passed away in 20. So that was probably the last day that I got to see my mom and dad alive at that event and stuff, and that was made possible by this gentleman here, which means a lot to me. So, from that point on, I'd stayed involved in the program, and it's just a very uplifting program. When we were doing the podcast out here today, talking to some of the people that I talked to, in athletics, and these guys can attest to it. They're in it now at a high level and stuff. There's not a whole lot of camaraderie. Everybody kind of has their own agendas and stuff like that, and what they do is amazing. Getting a group of people together, moving in the same direction. But I always kid Coach Williams. I told him, I said, when I get that Power 5 athletic director's job, he'll be the first call I get for a basketball coach. This guy gets up 2 or 3 in the morning. He'll call me at 6, and he's did 4 hours worth of work. And he comes here every day to put this on and uplift people and stuff. And, I don't know, you people may know, but I don't know very many people that do things to make other people look good. A lot of times we're too caught up in ourselves and everything like that. So, Terry, hold that poster up at Tex Williams. All these posters he does is Staples. So I started going to Staples and everything. Bring that thing up here. We'll give it to Coach Williams. And we kind of put our heads together and stuff like that. And I put that together, like those are his colors. St. Albans High School, where he did, two tours of duty. University of Charleston, where he went to the national tournament. Alderson Broadus, and then he coached professionally with the Charleston Gunners. So let's give Coach Williams a hand for putting this program on.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Steve.
Let me give Cal and Lowry, and I'll be done.
Yeah.
Next gentleman that I want to give something to is John Lowry. John was inducted last summer and at the dinner Tex put on 1,500 people. I mean, these programs are just amazing. The things that he does, the talents that he brings in the people, that are here and stuff. But John's one of our national guests, along with Jerry Lucas and Bob Huggins. John's been a lifetime coach at Jefferson County High School. He was inducted in the NABC College Hall of Fame last year, which I don't know if anybody in the state of West Virginia been inducted in that. Steve Herrick from West Virginia. So John was inducted in that last year, and he's still coaching strong. We inducted him last year at the dinner and stuff, and he's been a good friend of the Artie Museum. So Terry, bring that poster up here, please. When I told him I was making some things, he sent me this picture, and he said, do this. So I said, that's fine, because that's my college coach right here. You got John Lowry, Cal Bailey. Cal will be inducted in the NABC Hall of Fame. Here you go, John. This year. Yeah. So John wanted that picture there with Cal. And the last guy I want to talk about is Cal. Cal was my high school college coach. Trying to think, Cal passed away 3 years ago, and I've never been around. I could tell you so many stories. I think he's the all-time winningest coach in college athletics. If I'm an athletic director, he probably done it with 75 to 80% of local kids. I mean, it's unbelievable. A lot of these kids were in education, so I'm sitting there watching him. I used to go with him all the time in the summer. Come on, let's go. We'd load up and go to Fairmont. We'd go here. We'd go there every day. And when he walked in to a place, I mean, everybody gravitated to the guy. Played professional baseball for 6 years. I think he was drafted by the Steelers out of college. I mean, was an imposing figure. You see these 30-30 things with Bobby Knight and some of these guys, they couldn't hold a candle to that guy. I mean, when he got after you, you remembered it. But I mean, great guy. Had the intent of making people better, and that's what I look at and stuff. Ultra successful. Like I said, he's known all over the place and everything. Is his wife here, Ruth? Ruth Bailey back there. Bring that up here. Okay, thanks. Come up here, Ruth. We had this made for Cal. Cal was pretty easy to do. He was a one-stop shop. He did all of his damage at West Virginia State, and this is his wife, Ruth. And I haven't seen you in years, but like I said, there's a lot of yellow jackets here. Sean Lloyd, stand up. He's the current head coach of West Virginia State. Greg Keaton's the assistant. Jimmy and Charlie Tribble, played there. Rusty Clark over there. So there's a lot of people that's played for Cal all over the state and stuff. And like I said, I'm going to tell you one story. '05, I was working in professional baseball with the New York Mets. I was in the minor league system. Roger Clemens, when he used to, he pitched for the Astros, come down, and I was in, hold that, Bruce, please. He was in I was in Kingsport with the Mets. He was in Greenville with the Astros. So he come down and trained for 4 days. He didn't pitch and fly back. So he comes in one day. I'm sitting in the office with Mookie Wilson. Them. He has a whole bunch of balls. He autographed balls. I don't have very many souvenirs from professional baseball, but I kept the ball that he had, you know, and everything. But he's out there doing his run, and I'm watching him and stuff. We're getting ready to start the game, so I'm standing down the left field line. So he comes over, and he's talking to the groundskeeper, and he said, groundskeeper's talking to him. He says, you know, your Hall of Fame, or excuse me, your Cy Young Awards, your All-Stars. He goes, you know, you won't be getting the Hall of Fame. He wasn't in there yet because they're going through a performance-enhancing drugs thing. And he said, yeah, I'd like to get in there. But he said, you know what I want more than anything? So I turned around and looked. And he said, when I'm going from this earth, when I'm not around, he said, I want people talking about me. And he got with Cal Bailey. He's always, anywhere that I'm at, if I'm coaching or if I'm speaking at a clinic or doing something, you know, at some point in time, it doesn't matter if I was in professional baseball, I was in Division I basketball in New Mexico State, at some point, sometime, you always think about guys like that, and their name comes up and stuff like that. So that's the biggest tribute I can give to him. Like I said, we appreciate it, Ruth. Thanks for coming out today. And Cal Bailey. Yeah, he got his. Yeah. Okay, Coach Lowry, come on up here. You want to talk? I'd have kept you up here if I didn't know that. John Lowry, Jefferson County.
I was asked to make a few brief comments, and I'll try to keep them to the point and succinct. If I keep my notes from blowing away here. I'm extremely honored and humbled being here today, and I've been blessed in many ways during my life. There are so many to thank. First, my parents, my wife of approaching 56 years, who couldn't be here today because she's not feeling well. I'm feeling better today after I gave her a call. My sons, and all those players, supporters, who through the years, whose work and dedication have allowed me to do what I've always wanted to do, and that's to be a high school coach. But most importantly, I want to thank God for all the opportunities that He has blessed me with and given me this opportunity. To be here with Mr. Lucas and Coach Huggins, to be here on the day that they are recognized and honor, will be a memory where we remember their legacy, will be a memory that, quite frankly, that will last for me forever. I remember Mr. Lucas's career beginning with his accomplishments at Ohio State when he was a teammate with Bobby Knight, Larry Siegfried, and Jeff Havlicek, and they won the national championship. Then he went on to be a teammate with our own native Jerry West in the Olympics. I think you were the youngest guy on the team, if I read correctly on that. And Jerry Lucas, I think, was my all-time favorite athlete, perhaps the same with a lot of you, maybe from the older sect, that remember when his playing days with the Mountaineers. I also remember Mr. Lucas's career with the New York Knicks, went on to win an NBA championship. I think he won a national championship, an Olympic championship, an NBA championship, and I found out today a high school championship. So that's quite an accomplishment. All this followed by his significant contributions in education with the books that he has written and the work that he has done since then. This is certainly a magnificent career in life, and I want to tip my hat to you. Coach Huggins, I've followed you since your playing days with the Mountaineers. Outstanding as a player without question, but more even greater achievements as a coach. 2 Final Four appearances, the only coach with 300 or more wins at 2 different Division I schools. But perhaps most importantly are all the lives that you have positively influenced over the years. Another magnificent career. And getting up in age now, I don't recall names maybe like I would like to be able to, but I can still remember the Final Four when one of our players who was going to be a high round draft choice got hurt, and you went out and you kneeled down next to him And I think that injury probably kept him from getting to play in the NBA, but you were right there next to him. And I remember, and I think a lot of Mountaineer fans remember that. Again, thanks to you both for all your contributions and your achievements. Cal Bailey. Wow. His memory and legacy will live forever. He was a personal friend and mentor to me. His contributions to baseball in our state are profound. He was, without question, the beacon, the leader of baseball, and the coaching of baseball in our state. And his induction into the ABCA Hall of Fame is much deserved and long overdue. And I think that those of you here today will agree with me on that point. The first time I met Cal was in 1979 at the Sports Writers Annual Banquet in Morgantown, and he was receiving the award for being the College Coach of the Year, regardless of sport. And at that time, he got up, like today, you know, a lot of speakers, people been sitting for a while. He goes up to the podium, and he says, I want everybody to stand up. He said, I know you've been sitting a while. Everybody stands up. He said, I'd like for you to stretch your arms out. Everybody stretches their arms out. And then he asked them to start bringing them together. He says, now I want you to bring them together real quickly. Well, when he did that, it sounded like a clapping motion. And then he turned to the guy behind him. He said, see, I told you I'd get a standing ovation. What I'd like to do now is ask for you all to stand, and let's give Cal Bailey, his memory and his legacy, one last standing ovation. A great guy. Thank you very much. Tex, I want to thank you too for all that you do. It's just amazing that, you know, I think about trying to keep a scrapbook of my high school team for one season, and I can't imagine what goes into doing this. As I close, I want to say one thing. If I can keep my papers in order here. I saw this in a magazine, and I thought it was so apropos, so great. And I think it's a good way to end what I want to say here today. It says, God was seen walking through West Virginia. A stranger asked him, what are you doing, God? He says, I'm working from home today. That said it all. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Lowry. Appreciate that. Speaking of the Lord, we must thank him for this wonderful day. And Tex Williams told me it was going to be a perfect day. So, Coach, it's good to be your friend because you're in with the Lord. We appreciate that. And we appreciate, again, everybody here. I want to first say something about the people who were at the very first gathering of the Legends. Just a handful of people at the old Shoney's on the old Valley Drive in Beckley. And Jack Lilly was one of the originals. And Buster Keaton is made that trip in from Canton, Ohio. He is here today. And those of you who were part of the committee are part of the committee. I see some back there. If you all will stand, because we appreciate all that you've done over the years for this event. Dave, others, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to introduce Alan McVeigh now. Many of you know his voice, but you don't know his name. He is the West Virginia State Insurance Commissioner. That's his real-life job. But most of you know him as the public address announcer at the state basketball tournament at the Charleston Civic Center Coliseum. And he is one of those to be honored today. I will do a little bit more about his bio in a minute, but right now, Alan, let's let you get to the microphone here because you have a very special introduction. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Bill. I wanted to welcome everyone here and just to let you know that my signature call at the state basketball tournament when we're ready to play ball is, okay, ladies and gentlemen, We are now ready to play some ball. So we're going to get this show on the road. And by the way, Randy Hunt, I wanted to tell your Coach Goddard, he stole that bat from you. You know that, don't you? But he finally gave it back. That is good. It's my actually great honor and pleasure today to introduce a special person. He drove down here today from Charleston. Our governor, who's our boss, was supposed to be here today. He was called to be up in the north central part of West Virginia, unfortunately, or he would have been here. And believe me, I know him. He would rather be here than up there. So just keep that in mind. And I also made the special request that he bring Baby Dog with him because she's a lot more popular than he is, and he will admit that. So it is my pleasure to make a few remarks about the governor, our Secretary of Revenue, the Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Dave Artie.
Thank you, Alan. That is one tough act to follow. On behalf of the governor, you know, number one, I'm clearly not the governor, about 100 pounds less. And number two, I don't have Baby Dog with me. So that's my starting point. But on behalf of the governor, Tex, the governor loves you. And I mean, he loves you from the bottom of his heart. Yesterday in his press conference, he probably spent 5 to 10 minutes talking about this event today and how wonderful it was that you were going to have it, and to congratulate on his behalf, on the people of West Virginia, all the honorees here today. The governor's here in spirit, believe me. If he doesn't have votes down here, Tex, he's in trouble anyway. So he's up in the northern part of the state where he needs to be today. The other thing I have to mention, I have unique perspective here. My mother, who's 90 years old, who's part of the George Stover family, which is right down there in Texas Museum, Tex, she still remembers what it was like to babysit you. She swears it's true, and then I'll get off this microphone. She says when Tex was 5 years old, he was so wound up that they let him come into school because he would look in the school windows and he had to come in, so they finally just gave up and said, let Tex go ahead and start school. The other thing she says, and I'll leave you with this because it's so true today. I said, Mom, I'm going over to see Tex today. She couldn't come, of course. She's feeble. And she said, you know one thing about Tex, David? He loves everybody. And she said, you tell Tex how much I love him because he loves everybody back. So on behalf of the governor, Tex, you're one of the greatest West Virginians I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to come over and give you a Jim Justice hug, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary Artie. All right, I'm going to give a proper introduction to Alan McVeigh because then, fortunately, he's going to help me, and he's going to do the introductions for the other folks who are going to be honored today, and including Alan McVeigh. He started out as an all-sports player at the old Stonewall Jackson High School in Charleston, and then graduated with honors at West Virginia State in Institute. Got into the insurance business. You talk about a heavy hitter. I got to see his resume, and it's got all kinds of letters after his name. And I asked a friend who's in the business, what does that mean? He says, that means that he has achieved the highest standards in the field of insurance and risk management. He has done so much, though, outside of insurance. Of course, he's the insurance commissioner, and this is his second go-around there because in between, he was a cabinet secretary, West Virginia Department of Administration. But he's involved so much in the community, and it would take quite a while to go through all of the things that he does in Charleston and the Kanawha Valley. But two of the things I know that are near and dear to him are the Lions Club, where he's been Lion of the Year, and also the Rotary Club, where he's been the Rotarian of the Year, and he's achieved the highest status, the Paul Harris Award. And I think what this means summarizes his public service. Rotarians say it's service above self, and that tells you all about Alan McVeigh. Now, as far as sports, I told you about his public address announcing at the Civic Center, but he's also done PA work at high school games and elsewhere. He also at one time was the tournament director for the old WVIAC basketball tournament. So he's been involved in sports all throughout the state for a long time. Ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure to introduce Mr. Alan McVeigh.
And like all the other speakers up here today, I'm going to try to keep my notes in order because we have 27 inductees to move into the West Virginia Sports Legends Hall of Fame at the Artie Museum. And that, I guess, is the special name that we hold for this place. Our first inductee today, and I was supposed to do one before I did this one, but I'd like to go ahead and do the top three. They are our national holders of various honors. So I would like for Mr. Bob Huggins to please stand. Coach. In my heart, he is the WVU basketball coach and a member of the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. He has done so much to build up our state and take care of the players that have played for him and the various students at West Virginia University that he's mentored. So let's hear it for Mr. Bob Huggins. Coach Huggins will have some remarks later. Our next honoree, Jerry Lucas. Stand up, Jerry. He is a former member of the Ohio State basketball team, former NBA player, and also a member of the Basketball Hall of Fame. Mr. Jerry Lucas. Our next honoree today, in memoriam, and Mrs. Bailey, would you please stand? Calvin Bailey was not my baseball coach, but I learned a lot from him. I was a student at West Virginia State University, West Virginia State College at that time. But Coach Bailey was a mentor to not only the players on his baseball team, but also those of us who appreciated the kind of man he was. A legendary baseball coach at our university, he will be inducted posthumously into the prestigious American Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame this coming January 2024, January the 5th to be exact, and that will be held in Grapevine, Texas. We appreciate all the things that he did for not only the WVSU baseball team, but also our school. So thank you. Our next honoree, Mr. Brian Helton. Brian is over here. Brian is a 1988 small high school All-American. And if you looked at his poster, it's pretty amazing. He scored over 2,000 points at Greater Beckley Christian School, led the school in 1988 to the National Small High School Championship, cited as a first-team All-American in basketball, went on to Bryan College, where he was a two-time team captain and leading scorer of that team. And he's been one of West Virginia's most successful businessmen this past 20 years, which is a great accomplishment. Let's hear it for Brian Helton. Our next honoree, and he's already spoken, I have happened to know and be honored to be in the presence of Coach John Lowry many times, and I appreciate the way he coaches baseball. He's another legendary coach and you've already heard from Jefferson High School in our Eastern Panhandle. And he was inducted into the ABCA Hall of Fame this past January 2023. Let's hear another round of applause for Coach John Lowry. Our next honoree, Rusty Clark. And as you all probably know, Herbert Hoover High School has a brand new high school up there. We're very proud of being able to provide that in that area. Rusty was a 1983 graduate and an all-state baseball player. He was three-time All-WVIAC baseball choice at West Virginia State. 1999 inductee into West Virginia State University's Hall of Fame. Let's hear it for Rusty Clark. And now, our next honoree, a longtime friend of mine, Mr. Gig Collifer. Come on, Gig, stand up. Everybody wants to see you. Longtime assistant boys basketball coach at Polka High School, and a friend of mine who used to announce games called it Polka High School, home of the Dots. Also, he was an assistant baseball coach with the Dots and has served as an area official umpire in basketball, football, and baseball. Well-rounded. Gig, let's hear it for him. Gig Culliford. Our next honoree, and I had the pleasure of meeting and talking with him earlier today, Mr. Gary Fauber. Gary, stand up. There you go. Gary's the current sports editor at the Register-Herald in Beckley, where he's been a featured sports writer for the past 27 years, covering games. So let's hear it for Gary Fauber. Our next inductee is somebody that I really appreciated watching on a football field, John Fuzzy Felez. Fuzzy was a former All-State receiver at Magnolia High School. He broke several receiving records at Marshall University from 1973 to 76, including a national record of catches in 42 straight games, and that is an amazing record. He was voted the West Virginia State Amateur Athlete of the Year in 1976. Let's hear it for Fuzzy Felez. You've already met our next inductee, Coach Joe Goddard. Joe, you can stand up again. Joe was an all-state baseball player at Sophia High School, played at Marshall, was a 7th-round draft pick of the San Diego Padres, that's already been mentioned, and a baseball coach for 36 seasons at Independence High School here in our state. We love our longtime baseball coaches here in this state. Let's hear it for Joe Goddard. And this guy has a book that I can't wait to read. Our next inductee, Mr. Gary Griffith. Gary's a former radio announcer for the Princeton Rays down here in our southern part of the state of the Appalachian League. And you need to read his book. Just the excerpts that he gave me, it sounds like it's pretty interesting. Let's hear it for Gary Griffith. Our next inductee, Ryan Haga, late football and basketball official here in southern West Virginia, coached basketball and baseball at several youth levels. Coalfield Conference Memorial Golf Tournament does bear his name. Let's hear it. And is any of his family here? All. Ms. Haga, thank you very much. Ryan Haga. This is a guy I haven't seen in a few years, but he and I are very involved in the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Mr. Ross Harrison. Ross, stand up. Retired public school teacher of 48 years and he was mainly at St. Albans High School, where I originally met him. Did great work with our students at the high school. He's also a retired pastor of 31 years, and as I mentioned, he was very instrumental in putting together and helping run the Hoops Classic basketball tournament that we now have at West Virginia State University prior to our season starting here in the state. Longtime volunteer for FCA, Ross Harrison. And our next inductee, I've already sort of mentioned him, Mr. Randy Hunt. Randy played baseball at Independence High School, as he mentioned, for Joe Goddard. Also played at West Virginia Tech. He announces WVU Tech basketball games, and he is a retiree from our West Virginia State Tax Department. Let's hear it for Randy Hunt. Our next honoree, Mr. Greg Keaton. Greg was an all-state baseball player at Logan High School, and they've been in the state tournament quite a few times. Assistant baseball coach at West Virginia State University, again, my alma mater and a great school, Mr. Greg Keaton. Our next inductee, Bob Limley. I know he's here. Bob? He was here. Okay. Former football coach at Poca for 24 seasons. Won 141 games in his tenure, including 3 straight AA state championships, 2001 to 2003, and 4 overall state titles, which is an amazing record. Let's hear it for Bob Limley. Dr. Barry Loudon was supposed to be here with us. Unfortunately, he called this morning. He and his wife have COVID, so they cannot be here with us. But Barry won the 1987 Hunt Award as the state's top lineman at Parkersburg High School. 3-year starter, 1,000-point scorer in basketball, and played football at a pretty good school to go to, Yale University. Let's hear it for Barry Loudon. Our next inductee, I can tell a few stories about him, but I won't today because of time constraints. But Sean Lloyd, please stand up. He is our current baseball coach at West Virginia State University. He was a longtime assistant and also served in several other capacities at West Virginia State, including being a very good athletic director, and I appreciated that. Let's hear it for Sean Lloyd. Our next inductee, Mr. Ed McCall. Ed was the boys basketball coach at Meadowbridge for 3+ decades. He retired in 2017 with, get this, more than 400 wins, and that's a great record. Let's hear it for Ed McCall. Yours truly is the next inductee, and I don't need that sheet of paper. I've already read those, which is good. By the way, I appreciate the breeze up here, quite frankly. I am the PA announcer for both St. Albans High School basketball teams, their baseball team. I do both West Virginia State University's men's and women's basketball teams. I do stay a little busy during the regular season, but then when it's over, I do the state high school basketball tournament, and then I immediately go into baseball and do that state tournament as well. And guest Tex, you decided to honor me just for my big mouth, right? Very good. Our next honoree, Mr. Richard Redcliffe. Richard won the 1978 Class AAA high jump for Buchanan Upshur at the state track meet, 6 foot 7 inches. And my son was a high jumper, so I know that that is a great height to aspire to. However, He is believed to be the first West Virginia athlete to clear 7 feet with a jump of 7 feet 1/4 inches for West Virginia Wesleyan when he was up there at the Penn Relays in 1980. Let's hear it for Richard Redcliffe. Our next honoree is David Duck Riley. And Duck could not be with us today. Mo Robinson is standing in his place. And so, Duck was a 1974 graduate of North Fork High School, where he was a two-sport standout in both football and basketball. Duck later starred, as you know, at running back at West Virginia University. Great player. Let's hear it for David Duck Riley. Our next honoree, Mr. Maurice Robinson. Please stand. Mo is a 4-year WVU basketball letterman and team captain, selected by the Atlanta Hawks in the 9th round of the 1978 NBA draft, and a fine human being. Let's hear it for Mr. Maurice Robinson. And someone who I've had a lot of conversation with over the years is our next inductee, Mr. Rick Ryan. Rick is the, I'll say, semi-retired sports editor at the Charleston Gazette-Mail, and also worked at the Intelligencer in Wheeling, and does a great job with any sport that he's covering. And I always appreciated the fact that he wanted to have good information in our media. So let's hear it for Rick Ryan. Another special person in my life, Brian Sutphin. Please stand. Brian is the baseball coach at Hurricane High School, and Hurricane really didn't have that good of a baseball program until Brian went down there. And of course, Brian is from St. Albans, almost like Nick Saban going from West Virginia to Alabama. And I tell you what, he's been one heck of a successful baseball coach with 404 victories, 3 Class AAA state championships in only 15 seasons at Hurricane. Let's hear it for Coach Brian Sutphin. Our next honoree, Charlie Tribble. Charlie was a 3-sport standout at Winfield High School, played 4 years of baseball at West Virginia State. Heck of a guy. Let's hear it for Charlie Tribble. And we also have a brother combination here, Jimmy Tribble. Stand up, Jimmy. Baseball coach at Buffalo High School, you can tell from his cap, for 17 seasons. Had a Class A title in 2006. He also coached 13 seasons at Winfield High School and had a AA title in 1985. Let's hear it for Jimmy Tribble. And our last, but certainly not least, honoree, Jim Workman. Jim, actually, as you can tell, was a great athlete. He's also head of Workman Media, LLC, and a lot of you read his material in Wally and Wimpy's Sports. Let's hear it for Jim Workman. And I believe that ends my responsibilities, and I'm going to turn it back over to Bill. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Before you go, I'm going to ask you to introduce Tex for just a moment, because I know he wants to say a couple of words to our special guests. But if everybody who has just been honored, if you would please stand, and guys back at the camera, I'm going to ask everybody to stand and look at the camera, so that way all of your relatives will know that you're actually here. So, yeah, come on up here if you want, and turn around. There's the camera. Oh, we can do a Mo, get in there close. There you go. Yeah. Come on down. Yeah. This is going to be, we'll have some still pictures. Give some of you a chance to get up off your feet for a moment. Jerry Lucas at 6'8" gets to be in the back. I think Coach Huggins, 6'4"? Mo? Everybody say cheese. That was weak. Mozzarella. There you go. All right, everybody. A big hand. Thank you. We're going to have James Tiller to come back here. Oh, you're going to, okay. Yeah, do it to it.
Thank you. I'd like to inform you, James Tiller, the singing attorney, a West Virginian, he lives in Nashville, Tennessee, and he has a great career there as a lawyer. But he's on the Facebook all the time with his music, and he's followed all over the United States with his style and what have you. But the main thing, we know that we have our favorite singers. I love to see people who have a passion for whatever they do. And I haven't run into anyone that had the combination of being an attorney, a well-respected attorney, and who loves music like this guy. So he's going to sing a song that's appropriate to these two great guys. Of course, all of it fits all of us West Virginians, brothers and sisters. But mainly to you two guys who came today, who made this crowd possible. We thank you. So, okay, James, are you ready to plug in? Let her go, buddy.
but now I'm coming home. I now remember with bitter tears. That's why I'm coming home. Everybody sing it with me. Coming home, I'm coming home. Evermore to roam. Open wide, oh, thine arms of love. Also, I'm coming home. Oh, Lord, I'm coming home. Woo! Thank you so much.
Great job. Thank you. Well, I never thought I'd be standing at a microphone with an opportunity to introduce one of my boyhood idols, Jerry Lucas. But I get to do that now. You've already heard about him winning championships on 4 different levels. But let me add to that just a little bit. In high school, his teams won 76 out of 77 games, 2 state titles. At Ohio State, his teams went to the championship game all 3 years that he was on the varsity, winning 1 title. In 1960, you know about the Olympic gold in Rome. And then the NBA championship with the New York Knicks in 1973. They haven't won anything since then. Let me tell you a little about him. In college, Jerry was the only 3-time Big Ten Player of the Year award winner. He was the consensus basketball college player of the year in 1961 and 1962. He was inducted into the College Hall of Fame in 1980 with a guy named Jerry West and Oscar Robertson. In the NBA, he was voted one of the 50 greatest all-time players in NBA history. And then 2 years ago, when the NBA had their 75th anniversary team, Jerry Lucas was on it too. He was the All-Star MVP award winner, the All-Star Game award winner in 1965. He was the NBA Rookie of the Year. He averaged 17 points per game on his 13 years. And not only could he shoot inside, but he could shoot the long ball, and this was before the three-point shot. So averaging 17 was something. He averaged better than 15.5 rebounds per game, but a big man also had 3.3 assists per game, so great stats. So I asked Jerry when I first met him a couple of hours ago, I said, Mr. Lucas, how can I introduce you? He said, just say, I'm a man of God. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Jerry Lucas. Thank you. Do you want it in the holder? Or do you want
I'll hold it. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen. Happy to see you here today. You know, every time I stand up to speak and see a group of people in front of me, I think it's quite normal for my mind to filter back to the very first time I spoke to an audience. I just graduated from Ohio State and was asked to do a great deal of speaking. And the first speech I ever gave was a small school in Ohio, an all-sports banquet. The speech had been finished. People were leaving the gymnasium where we had met. And I saw a young boy break away from his mother. He rushed to me very excitedly and very nervously. These were the words that came out of his mouth. He said, Mr. Lucas, I've enjoyed your basketball over the past few years very, very much. But he said, that speech you gave tonight's the worst speech I've ever heard in my life. Now, the young boy's mother heard what he had said. So she came to me very, very apologetically, and she said, oh, Mr. Lucas, I'm so very, very sorry for what my son has said. Please pay no attention to him. He only repeats what he hears. Now, I want to repeat some things to you for a few moments that I'm sure you haven't heard. My life is and has been education for a long, long time. I've devoted my life to revolutionizing the educational process and how children will learn in the future. I want to tell you a little bit about education. I want to tell you how children learn initially. I'm going to tell you some things that I've done that I believe will change that process forever. All children learn exactly the same way when they are young. They don't know the alphabet, they don't know numbers, so how in the world do they learn? A parent begins to point to and identify objects that they can see. That's a chair, that's a table, that's a cat, that's a dog, that's a tree. Now in this process, they or their parents have no idea what is really happening. God has given all of us a remarkable ability that causes every tangible object that we see and identify to never be forgotten. It's impossible. Because every time we think of it, it reappears in our minds. I want to prove that to you right now by asking you not to do something. Please do not see a zebra in your mind. It's too late. You just saw a zebra, didn't you? What about an elephant? What about a giraffe? You cannot forget those items that have a tangible identity. Now that will come, you'll understand that a little bit more in a moment. I was a young boy growing up that had an incredibly active mind. My mind had to do something. When I learned to count, I counted everything I saw. I tried to remember what was there when I came back. When I learned to spell, I began to spell every word I ever saw or thought of in alphabetical order just to give my mind something to do. For instance, the word cat is spelled C-A-T, but alphabetically it's A-C-T. A before C and C before T in the alphabet. I'm speaking into a microphone, C-E-H, I'm an O-O-P. You're an audience, A-C-D-E-E-I-N-U. Television, E-I-L-O-S, TV. Picture, C-E-I-P-R-T-U. I'd like to tell you about that particular ability that I have. It's absolutely useless. It won't do a thing for you, but it kept my mind busy and active. Something happened to me in the 4th grade that would change my life, that would give me the purpose for my life. I didn't know it at that particular moment, but it did. Our teacher came in one day and she said, class, today I'm going to teach you a way to remember the names of the Great Lakes by seeing a picture in your mind. That was the first and last time that any teacher ever taught me anything using a picture. She said, imagine the Great Lakes in your mind. Now see homes floating on the Great Lakes, and here's the reason why. Homes is spelled H-O-M-E-S, and those are the beginning letters of the 5 Great Lakes: Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, and Superior. I thought to myself, I'll never forget that as long as I live. Every time I think of the Great Lakes, I'll see the homes floating, and I have a simple and easy way to learn and know the names of the Great Lakes. But the next thought that went through my mind gave me the purpose for my life. I thought to myself, what if I could picture everything I needed to learn? And this mind that was always looking for something to do had that thing to do. For the rest of my life, to this day, that's all I've done. Educationally, I wanted to give an identity to everything I needed to learn, and some incredible things began to happen in my life. Nobody knew it, my parents, my brothers, my best friends, nobody, but I was trying to give an identity to everything I learned, and it became as easy to learn everything I needed to know that was abstract and intangible as easy it was for me to learn what a hippopotamus was, because it had an identity. And as that happened, as I said, some remarkable things began to happen in my life. I became an excellent student. I began to write many, many books. I've written about 60 books on learning and memory training, and it's been a joy for me to do that. But something else happened in my life that changed my life for eternity. During the last year of my professional basketball season, I had won all the honors and the awards that you've heard here today, but there was no fulfillment and completion in my life. What did it all mean? There's no purpose to it. And I had a friend who asked me to begin to read the Bible. And I began to read the Bible like I had done everything else. And as I read and read more, I was so touched. I studied 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I memorized the entire New Testament. Meditated on it every day of my life. Meditated every day, prayed, and I realized as I got to know the Lord more that there was a reason for all the things I had done as a little boy. I was being prepared to do something that nobody else has ever even thought of doing. Can you imagine even thinking of giving an identity to every abstract and intangible bit of data that children need to learn? Not only have I thought of it, I've accomplished it, and it's done. It's all done in 2D, and I'm in the process now of raising funds to change all the material that I have created into a 3D concept that will be known as Dr. Memory's Universe, an entire universe of learning. Alphabet Planet, Reading Planet, Writing Planet, Spelling Planet, Grammar and Punctuation Planet, Math Planet, on and on and on. It's so exciting, and it's so easy for children to learn. So if you pray that God might supply the money that's needed, change education forever in the future. Have you ever seen a sound walking down the street? I've pictured every sound in the English language, and children will know everything. Literacy will be so fun and so easy in the future. I've created hundreds of characters, environments, written 200 songs. It's amazing what has been created, and I'm so excited that I've had the opportunity to do that, and I'm looking forward to the rest of my life. I'm just beginning, folks. I might be in my 80s, but I'm just beginning to do what the Lord has called me to do, and I'm very, very excited about it. Tex, I want to thank you for inviting me here. It's been great to be here. I love Tex. He's a great man. I appreciate what he's done. I'm very happy to be here with Bobby Huggins. I pray for you every day, Bobby. You're on my prayer list with Tex. And I pray for you every day of my life, my friend, and I will continue to do so. Folks, thank you for having me here. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Jerry Lucas. Truly a man of God. By the way, the Ohio State University retired his uniform. Another legend, Bob Huggins, is here. This may be his first chance to get in front of a microphone without somebody from the media asking him questions. You've already heard about Bob Huggins. You know that he won 935 games, third all-time on the list, almost 70% winning percentage. He had 2 career Final Four appearances, 24 NCAA tournament appearances. 5 times, Coach Huggins was Conference Coach of the Year. And, of course, you know that he was inducted last year into the College Basketball Hall of Fame. But I think something else that is just as important, maybe more so, is his community service. He has gone around the state over the years. Special golf tournaments and dinners, the annual fish fry to raise millions upon millions of dollars for charitable events, including cancer research. So there's much more to Coach Bob Huggins. Truly a West Virginia treasure. Please make welcome Coach Bob Huggins.
Not kind enough. I don't know how it always happens to me, but I always end up behind the smart guy. Jerry, I don't know. I mean, I was just at the Ohio Basketball Hall of Fame stuff, and they said, have you looked and seen where you are in the all-time scoring deal? And I'm going down through there, and I knew, the guys that were on there. And then, and then I get up here, and I got to speak again behind Jerry. And Jerry, I don't know what to say, besides that, I think, you scored 6 more points than I did or something like that all time. See, you played for your dad. My dad kept yanking me out. I know, I did. I played for mine. I tell you, I don't know. Tex, where am I supposed to go with this? Let me tell you a story, and I think you'll really appreciate this. We're playing in the Final Four. We're playing Duke. A guy from Duke dives into Deshaun Butler and tears his knee up. I go out on the floor, and obviously he's in a tremendous amount of pain. And we take him out and carry him out. Take him, the doctors are looking at him. They're saying it's going to have to be a total reconstruction of his knee. I don't know. I've had it happen when Kenyon Martin went down when I was at Cincinnati, and it just totally deflates everybody involved. And so we struggle a little bit, we struggle a lot, get through. I come home, I'm sitting watching television, and this deal comes on about a mining disaster in southern West Virginia. Big Branch, Upper Big Branch. And I'm sitting there, and I said to my wife, I said, I wish there was something I can do. She said, there is. Get in a car and go down there and help those people. So I'm thinking, I got to do a little bit more than that. I mean, so I call my dear friend, Greg Darby. I said, can you bring some water? You know, because you listen to the deal and everybody's saying they need water. And so I call Greg, and I get a guy to put me on a helicopter, fly me down, drop me down in the field, and I go in. I'm walking up the road there, carrying water. I still thought I was what I was at one time. You ever done that? You know, you think you can carry like 3 cases of water, and really you can only carry 1. That's about where I was, and so I'm carrying that up, and here comes Greg with 2 trucks, I believe it was, 2 trucks just absolutely full of water, and I think, you know, this is great. I go down to a pole building where all of the relatives and so forth are in, and I look, and there's water stacked from the floor pretty much almost to the ceiling, and I'm like, I think I got the wrong stuff. So I go out and make some calls. We get some food in there, but you know, pretty quickly you realize food's not really what it was about. Joe Manchin at that time was our governor. Joe said, "Come on, you're going with me." We went up, and we're listening to all the people and what's going on, and the harsh reality of it was probably they're not coming out. And it just, you know, I didn't know what to do. I'm not smart enough to know what to do. I went down, and Joe went in and started talking to him, and nobody even raised their head. I mean, I'm looking at, you know, a group like this, a little bigger group than this, but of wives, sons, daughters, lady in there who had 2 sons and her husband, and I didn't know what to do. And Joe said, so Joe obviously, and that's hard now. You all know Senator Manchin, not senator now, I guess, but whatever he is, he's not lost for words very often. He walked over, grabbed me by the arm, and he said, "You got to do this." And I have no idea what to do. I had a guy who was one of our managers And what I did was I went over to the equipment room and I just grabbed everything I could get my hands on and put it in a box. I didn't know sizes. I didn't know if it was a uniform we were going to wear the next game. I didn't know what it was. I just grabbed everything and put it in a box. And I said to my manager, I said, run down there and get me that big box. And he went down and got the box. Well, I'm trying to find something to say, and finally the box comes back, and I said, if any of you would like an autographed whatever's in this box, be it a jersey, be it a pair of shorts, be it shoes, be it socks, be it whatever, I'd be more than happy to autograph it for you. And it was amazing that, to me, it was amazing that it just lifted everybody. And people started getting up and coming up. The first lady who come up, I'll never forget. She was the lady who had 2 sons and a husband. And she came over and she hugged me. And she said, they're going to be okay. And I said, man, what would you, is there, something here that you would like to give them when they, when everything clears up here? And she said, absolutely, because they're going to be okay. And so the whole mood in the place just started to change, and I think that's probably the first time. See, let me go back a little bit. See, I'm a West Virginia guy. I mean, there's some people that try to paint me as not one, but I was born in Vincent Pallotti Hospital. You can't get any closer to campus than that now. I mean, that is right on the corner right there on campus. My mother grew up on 8th Street. My mother grew up, if you go and leave the Coliseum, go down the hill towards town, take the first left, drive up that straight up that hill, look to the left. That was where my mother grew up. My grandfather well, my grandfather smuggled his way on a ship and came over here from Italy. And if anybody doesn't think he was Italian, if you know anything about Italy and you know about how they live in Italy, there was a chicken coop, big chicken coop. Chicken coop's not there anymore, obviously, but the foundation's still there. There's where the big garden that he had, it's still there. The stands, the poles for the grape arbor, still there. So if you ever go up there, don't tell me I'm not West Virginian. And my dream was to play at West Virginia University, and had the privilege of playing with 2 guys from Southern West Virginia that I love like brothers. Actually, we pretty much are brothers. So, I've made mistakes in my life. I think probably most people have. I've probably made more than my share at times. But I love West Virginia. I love, my grandfather was a water commissioner in Morgantown. I mean, I've got roots, much like Mo has roots. And I think the thing that probably held us together as a team was the fact that we did have a core of West Virginia guys that love West Virginia so much. And I think the thing that I've tried to talk to our guys about is the fact that this state loves you. And we owe it. Yeah. I appreciate that. I need to be a little bit better West Virginian at times. But I, I get asked to do. I'm a terrible speaker. I mean, I don't. I get up here and kind of stammer around because I really don't know what to say. Well, I do that. I do that. But I just want you to know how much, Tex, I appreciate you. Appreciate what you do, what you stand for. Been a very dear friend for quite a few years. Jerry, I wish I'd have scored about 8 more. But I still love you. Anyway, it's been a long, hot day. But folks, I want to tell you something. This guy sitting over here is one of the great guys of all time. One of the great players of all time. And I think sometimes guys don't get their due, and he deserves every bit of it. He was a great player and a great person, a great teammate. And when I got back, one of the first things that happened was getting hooked up with Mo again. Because I was, at a few different places. I've only ever been to one place that I can honestly say that the people could be West Virginians, and that's in Kansas. Kansas people are a lot like us, but there ain't nobody better. I just want you to know I love you all. Appreciate y'all. And God willing, we'll get this thing turned around, and we'll go back and play in a few more Final Fours, and hope that some guy doesn't dive into somebody. And it's happened to me twice, man. Well, didn't happen to me, but it happened to Kenyon Martin, and it happened to Deshaun Butler. Deshaun's now a coach. I hired Deshaun. I hired Deshaun for. Hired DeMar Johnson, who's the number 2 pick in the NBA draft. Played for me at Cincinnati. So we got people there that know what they're doing. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to really getting to know a lot more people in this state. And I love traveling the state. I love seeing people in the state. I love West Virginia. Thank y'all.
A moment ago, I told Bobby that I pray for him every day, and I do. I pray for Tex every day. I pray for over 500 people individually every day. He's one of them. I've asked the pastor to come up here, Tex to come up here. If you're a Christian and you pray, extend your hand toward us, and the pastor is going to pray for Bobby.
Would you also, with that other hand, just reach out and touch somebody? Just one hand up to the Lord and the other hand just touching somebody, please. Gracious God, we just pause right now in the beauty of your universe. We pause right now in this worship center. What a day this has been. How exciting it's been as we've lifted up among ourselves people of good faith and good fortune and people who have been successful in so many ways. But right now we lift up to you your Son, Jesus Christ, the author and the finisher of our faith. Mm-hmm. And as Jerry has asked, we give you thanksgiving right now for a very fine, good man by the name of Bobby Huggins. We appreciate him, and we thank you, God, for his life. We thank you for the amazing opportunities that he has had over the year, not only to have statistical success, but the lives that he has touched and changed in many very positive ways. I stand here with these three men and give thanks to you, dear God, for your gracious goodness toward all of us. In the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, amen.
Amen. Bobby, I love you.
Mo, would you come up here, because I think they need to see your face with Coach there in the camera. Maurice Robinson from Welch, West Virginia, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Good. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate you. Thank you, Coach. Thank you all. Now, as Alan McVeigh would say, here's Tex Williams.
I just have one brief remark. In life, there's a lot of people you say friend, 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 that you only need really one genuine friend to survive. And something's happening with our young people today. I was in education for 40 years on various jobs. But our kids are being robbed before they have a chance to succeed by listening to their peers. So our parents have got to take back over, as far as I'm concerned, to let them know or reveal to them somehow that their heroes are right there in the house with them every day instead of one of their peers. I appreciate all of you, because you know, on this ground today, no one feels they're better than anyone else. I'm as good as anybody on the face of the earth, and you're as good as I. And that's what every child should learn. And we appreciate all of you here today. I will say this to sign off. Try to instill in the kids to develop themselves from a genealogical standpoint of loving family. Charity and love begins at home. And we can spread out and go from there. Some kids don't have a home life. You step up as a leader and be that child's father or mother in that respect. So I guess I'm sort of preaching a little bit that we need to stick together. All this world can't whip us if we stick together, but we must stick together. That's the reason why I want to bring everybody together. We have the similar values, morals, and everything. We appreciate Jerry, you, a superstar in every facet of life. Bobby, a superstar. We've been friends. Through you guys, we can lead you and lead other people to you as far as our philosophy. So anyway, thanks so much. If we can ever be any service to you, if you have anybody that is a friend you think is worthy to come in and become a legend, a Artie Museum legend, if they impacted your life, give us their name. Give us their bio. I will gladly make them a poster and put in the Field of Dreams. Thank you very much, and be safe on your way home.